viewers, and good to have you with us in this edition of the Urban Debate. Unfortunately, today wasn't a good day. Even as the nation continued to fight the battle against coronavirus, and in some cities we still saw a steep rise, there was another bout of bad news that emerged from Visakhapatnam. At about 3 a.m. this morning, there was a gas leak at one of the factories, a polymer factory in Visakhapatnam. And people in the city, in and around that factory, woke up choking, breathless. This gas is odorless, so if you're asleep, you'll probably not even realize until you've inhaled copious amounts of it and it begins to impact your internal body system. Some of the visuals that emerged from there were heartbreaking and shocking. The early morning visuals showed how people were simply just fainting, losing their consciousness, falling on the streets. Those were the visuals that came out. Such was the impact of this gas leak. 11 people have been killed, hundreds hospitalized, and many more have now been evacuated or are in the process of being evacuated from that area. The Chief Minister rushed in the afternoon to go and meet the victims, the families, the survivors. He's assured help. Prime Minister himself has looked into the matter. That being said, as a news update, it's really quite unfortunate that such an incident has taken place. Now, investigation will go on and we'll find out at some point what went wrong. Suffice to say that this plant had been shut for over 40 days since the lockdown began. Of course, in most parts of the country, maintenance crew is allowed to go to sensitive factories to ensure that the equipment is maintained and such instances don't take place. Was it a storage issue? Was it some kind of wear and tear? Was it human error? Could we have avoided this? We don't have the answers tonight. But what I do want to do is bring you details of how this horror unfolded in the last 18 odd hours. What I do want to tell you today is the steps that have been taken by the government and the local authorities. And if such an instance happens, what should one do? Maybe not the styrene leak itself, but if there is a gas leak in your neighborhood, unfortunately it does happen sometimes in our country, what should one do? Are we ready to handle such disasters? These are the questions that I would seek answers to here tonight on this edition of the Urban Debate. Let me first tell you, what is styrene? It's a colorless, oily liquid. There was a gas leak. It converts and becomes and takes the shape of a gas at a certain temperature. It evaporates easily and hence styrene is a chemical that has a sweet smell. It's a precursor to the polystyrene resins and it is used to make plastic, latex and rubber. Hence it was being used in a plastic factory. So let's say good evening to the panelists who are joining us right now to help us answer some of these questions and understand what really went on. Let's say good evening to Swaranjit Singh, former DGP of Andhra Pradesh, Mr. Amrendra Sengar, IG NDRF, Sudhakar Reddy, he's the Senior Assistant Editor for Times of India, Hyderabad, and I'll also have Mr. Balasuri. He is a Visakhapatnam resident and we will try and understand from him what happened. He experienced it himself. In fact, let's see if we can go across to Mr. Balasuri first. Mr. Balasuri, an unfortunate incident. I'm sure it was a horrifying experience. Do you live close by to this factory?
I exactly live around 0.4 kilometer from the factory. There is only a compound wall which is separating us from the plant. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so we came to know about this at exactly 4:15 in the morning. And when we came to know about this, we were in a situation where either we have to breathe this, poisonous gas or do not breathe. That's all. There is no time for us to, understand what is happening. And when I came out of my house, I see scores of people, just running for their life, senior citizens who don't have vehicles, just running on the road to save themselves, to breathe just fresh air. That's all. So what I did is, I took my car and, took my senior citizen parents out of that, and we drove for around 3 kilometers. And there we waited for, just to breathe. That's all. That is what happened in the morning.
How did you find out that there has been a leak? And at such an odd hour when the entire city is sleeping. Well, what raised the first set of alarms, Mr. Balasuri?
See, there is nothing called this alarm or siren from the company side, the plant side. We did not hear any of that alarm sound from the plant side. But my parents usually who wake up early in the morning, like my father wake up at 4 o'clock. He found something is wrong, so when he went out, he's not able to breathe properly. So he came inside, and but we found some of the persons from our colony itself. They were alerting the people and telling them, there is something wrong with this, and we have to go. We have to just go out. That's all. It's our own decision we took, and we thought of just leaving the place because there is no option. We have to breathe. That is one thing. We can't live without breathing, so we have to breathe. We have to breathe this poisonous
Yes.
gas. That is what happened.
Yes, absolutely. Did you have any idea? Because in usually we go about our lives doing our own work. We never think that something like this can happen. Did you have any idea what you should do? Like you said, you can't stop breathing, and every breath you
Yes.
take, you are probably inhaling more toxic gas. What should be done? If you should cover your face, mouth? Was there any? Did you have any idea about it?
See, as a child, I grew up in this place with this plant in and around, and I know many of the employees who were residing just near my colony only, as this is the nearest place. So we knew. See, we felt in the past this gas in the air. We smell it every time. I mean, it is very mild, though it is not this strong. But what we have, I remember in my childhood once this happened, but it is for a very less time. They immediately controlled it, but this is the major thing which where I have seen casualties, kids and animals, people just falling down. When I was taking my parents in my car, I just saw scores of people who were on the footpath and few were falling unconscious. It is like even if you cover your face with a kerchief or a mask, you will not be saved. It is like in a couple of minutes if you take strong 2 to 3 breaths, the eye burning will start, and my mother complained of it at 4:15 only. She complained of my eyes are burning, and you can't inhale it in a strong breath. You can't take it. If you take it, that's all gone. Either you will be unconscious, or there is some kind of sensation in your stomach. So what we did is we ran for around 3 kilometers, where it started after half an hour. Again we went for another 6 kilometers. There we felt it was little less, and but we have to go uh, after around 25 kilometers now. So then we felt we were safe.
And what is this? Yes, yes. And what is the status now? Where are you and your parents currently? Have any arrangements been made by the government, or are you right now, fending for
Yeah,
yourself?
yeah. See, as of me and my family concerned, we were residing at my friend's place, wherein government, I see government is also taking up some measures in nearby. Actually, a lot of people ignored even the coronavirus situation. They have gone, and I see in the path there are some parks. I thought we will settle there, but even the parks were closed, so we were asked to go away from that park. So we thought we will be going near the beach. But near the beach, there is a big park where government has arranged the lunch and the small tents and all temporary places, because many of the families, around 150 to 200 families, were joined there, and government has taken care of feeding them and providing the basic needs. I have seen that. I have seen that happening. But as of me concerned, I am staying at my friend's place here.
Okay, I was going to say that it becomes even more difficult because this is times of coronavirus. Already we are dealing with a pandemic, and when something like this happens, it would have only added to your anxiety and your panic at that point of time, isn't it, Mr. Balasuri?
Yes, yes, of course. See, it is a kind of a situation. we were very hungry. We did not even have. You will see, my parents are diabetics and they have blood pressure. They have nothing without even coffee or anything. We came out. We were a little skeptical to have water also outside. See, we thought, having thought of having breakfast,
Hmm.
but due to this COVID and all, where to go, what to eat, no idea, no shops, nothing was there. So it is a very difficult situation.
Yes, and that's what I'm trying to understand. And I know it's very difficult for you to relive this, but through the day, what would you have done? Everything is shut. There is no place to go. Nobody will even give you shelter easily because it's coronavirus time. The food and water. How did you manage all day?
Basically, see, from early morning, when we started, we only thing we took is medicine. That's all. We took medicines of my parents, and we started by taking a water can in here. But food and all we brought from small hotel, and wherein we arranged something for the lunch. But we see here government has arranged the lunch here for a lot of families, and that's all. So the only
Okay.
thing we had is food and water. That's all.
Yes, okay. Mr. Balasuri, I'm really sorry you had to go through this in your, parents had to go through it as such a, age where any which ways they have so many health issues, and to wake up to such kind of a, incident happening around you must have been a horrifying experience. Do stay on with me if you would want to. I know you've had a long, tiring day. But let me go across to our other panelists as well. Mr. Sudhakar Reddy, help us understand, from what our survivor was also saying, there have been some other minor, smaller instances of gas leak, but never one of this magnitude. Now, are we ever ready for such situations to take place, especially in our cities where we live right next to such factories?
Yes, yes. True to what you said, because what happened in Vizag can happen anywhere in the country. Because this particular factory is almost adjacent to the residential colony called Venkatapuram, where this incident happened at around 3 o'clock when people are in deep slumber. The gas started leaking. What police are initially saying is that there is a storage issue where a storage tank, the styrene gas that was stored in the tank started leaking because there is a refrigeration problem, temperature issue, where they're supposed to maintain certain temperature, and because of lockdown, and there is an automation system that's supposed to maintain the temperature, there were some issues with that, due to which the gas started leaking. But more important is how there are, like, it's a city, we are sitting near a bomb, like it's everywhere, not only in Vizag, in Hyderabad also we have a lot of industrial clusters surrounded by residential colonies. Not only in Hyderabad, there are several instances where in Bangalore and all those cities. And more important, when we saw the visuals in the morning, it's very disturbing, similar to Bhopal gas tragedy. And people couldn't do anything because they don't know what's happening. And this gas actually caused effects on respiratory and nervous system. And it also caused asphyxia because of lack of oxygen in the ambient air. And this is what I feel, because police booked a case of culpable homicide not amounting to murder against the company called LG Polymers. But they also booked other sections, like where they caused negligence due to causing air obnoxious. But what happened to the people is like very traumatic, and this can happen anywhere, because uh, they're just trying to say
Yes.
that due to lockdown we can't actually monitor and all those things. But it's not pardonable, acceptable, because when these kind of situations can cause 11 deaths and a lot of people hospitalized, so it's a serious issue that has to be looked into, where
Yes.
these and this magnitude of this incident, because of the deaths and the way the people were actually running, and there is no solace for them. Like, it's literally they were suffocating. They were suffocating to death. And basically, what I feel, whole instance, because I was talking to the DGP of Andhra, I was talking to the Pollution Control Board chief, and all those people. So this, not only the negligence of the staff handling that storage facility, but very important question that comes out to today is one of the former IAS officer, E.S. Sharma, who is an environmentalist also, he was talking, and even when I checked the portal of environment clearance portal, it says without conducting public hearing, the plant was allowed to expand. So what PCB is trying to tell, it is Ministry of Forest and Environment that is supposed, because it's a category plant, it's not in the state purview. So it is Ministry of Forest and Environment that is supposed to give notification for public hearing. But what Ministry of Forest and Environment is telling, they took expansion permission for plastic engineering or engineered plastic. So for which there is no need of public hearing for expansion. So when such a dangerous precursor like styrene, it's called styrene monomer, is used.
Correct.
So what environmentalists feel, there should be a certain public hearing where people would have said that, look, we are already getting, like Balashori was telling, that they could smell it often.
Yes, Mr. Reddy, you're right there. You know, when it comes to such project expansions, the environmental procedures must be looked into. But very quickly, I needed one clarification from you before I go to Mr. Sengar. In many places, people have been allowed, workers have been allowed, factory owners have been allowed to carry on with the maintenance work, because it's very important, even if the factory is locked down, that we ensure that the equipment is maintained and there are no such accidents. Was that not being done? Is there any clarity on that?
Yeah, that's a very important and valid question that should be looked into. What I feel, actually, inspector of factories, who is supposed to inspect regularly these factories, the agency now, police and inquiry committee set up by Andhra Chief Minister, should look into whether the staff were there maintaining it, whether the inspector of factories inspected this factory ever during this lockdown time of 1.5 months. And they are claiming it is an automated system. Even automated system, why did it went wrong? Because what people are telling, when they wanted to revive or reopen the industry, it happened. So it could be like the police and the inquiry committee should look into whether there is a maintenance happening during lockdown. Then the negligence of the staff of this LG Polymer will come into picture.
Okay, let me go across to Mr. Amrendra Sengar as well. Mr. Sengar, of course, you know, in normal times itself, it would have been a huge challenge to handle a situation. What would have made it more difficult is the fact that, you know, we're living in times of coronavirus. Half the things are shut. People are not allowed to move. How does one handle such a situation then?
Yeah, indeed, it was challenging, basically responding at the time of COVID-19. As you must be aware that National Disaster Response Force is a specialized response force for any kind of disaster in the country. And today the event happened around 2:30 a.m. in the night. And initially, as it happens, people generally complained to local authorities. Local administration was contacted, local police, fire services, they tried to respond. But around 5:30 or so, our regional response center, which is stationed in Vizag, it was informed. And the RRC unit immediately rushed. Within half an hour it reached, and they tried to help in two ways. The first was to neutralize the situation inside the LG Polymer factory itself, and the second was the evacuation of villagers who were staying near the factory site in the surrounding villages. And whatever families we could get in touch with, they were evacuated, and the door-to-door search was also conducted by NDRF. NDRF is equipped with certain experts who handle chemical disasters. So this team had experts, and they were suited in chemical resistant suites as well as oxygen cylinders they had, and they entered in the premises, did door-to-door rescue, and They tried to rescue those people who were not able to move, children who could not move, people who were elders, people who could be helped. And in the process, altogether, along with different agencies, around 5,000 persons, they were shifted to safer locations. And as the things stand, the reported death toll as per Andhra Pradesh State Disaster Management Authorities is currently 10, and some people continue to be critical. And in this, I would just like to add that from Daman, a chemical known as PTVC, it has been rushed by air, and first it reached Pune, and from there it had taken our NDRF experts under the leadership of NDRF Commandant Mr. Anupam Srivastava, and it has landed in Nagpur, and there it has again taken 5 scientists from NIRI, which is located at Nagpur, and then they are currently reaching, and shortly they will be reaching Vizag, and thereafter they will do the needful to again contain the situation and neutralize the solution which is still left. And our commandant from 10th Battalion Vijayawada has also left along with a subunit of CDRN experts. So while large leakage has been controlled, and currently focus is basically on rehabilitation and treatment.
All right, Mr. Sengar, in such cases where situation is developing very fast and it's literally a matter of whether you should be breathing or not breathing, are there any, special things that the people should be aware of until help reaches, until the NDRF or any other rescue authorities reach? What should people who are stranded in that area really do?
Actually, there is a policy of mapping of multi-hazard prone districts and letting people aware of the hazards in case they are staying in an area which is having such kind of industries. And for that, NDRF throughout India has been conducting what is known as familiarization exercises, though it is a very small force and a lot of districts so far they have not been able to cover. But for different chemicals, there are different kind of SOPs, that is standard operating procedures to safeguard oneself. So it will be very difficult to generalize, but the local populace, they should be aware, of course, and local district administration also should help them in becoming aware of do's and don'ts of that particular chemical, because the safeguards will be varying from chemical to chemical.
Yes, Mr. Swaranjit Sen also with us this evening. Mr. Sen, how does one handle such a situation on ground? Already the force is deployed to deal with pandemic, a COVID, a war that we are on. And then you have a situation where hundreds are just running around, need to be evacuated immediately, taken to a safer location. Are we ever trained and prepared for such situations?
Well, I've been dealing with Vizag and the industries when I was with CISF. Later on, I was DIG Security, and also as AP DG. Now, for such a situation, I feel police has really not been trained, and they're not equipped in any case. So it's just as well that NDRF was there. Otherwise, it would have been quite a disaster. At least NDRF could react in time, and thank God, because that is what it is designed for. So now, with this situation occurring, I think the police will have to think, because in Vizag, you have a number of industries. You have the Vizag Steel Plant, you have Hindustan Zinc Limited, you have shipyard, you have all sorts of things. There are many other industries. So such situations can always develop. Now, are these industries situated in proper places, or do they need to be moved out? That's another point. Because as soon as the industry is formed, the settlements come up near about, and all of them are certainly within the range of being affected by any kind of disaster like this. But why did this disaster occur? That is something that needs to be gone into, because 5,000 tons of gas and all is a very large sum of, toxic material. And 40 days it is off.
Correct.
And then you start it off. Were all the safety precautions, I'm sure they must have got some SOPs to be followed before they recharge or reignite or whatever
Yes.
it is, these things. Now, have they been followed? That is why we have all these safety screens. No doubt, all these industries are pretty hazardous. But for that reason only, we have safety schemes. Now, were those safety schemes put into operation properly before recharging these tanks and all? All that, I mean, they have to be very much more particular. When you're in a situation where it's a town situation like this. So I think there's a lot left to be desired by the management of this industry. And I'm sure when the experts come, they'll be able to put their finger on what all went wrong. It's certainly not one man's fault. It definitely
Right.
is the management's fault. So that is how it is. But thank God that
Yes.
NDRF is situated there, because Vizag is a good place for such a force to be situated. Disasters can occur and have been occurring I've investigated at least 2 major fires by Hindustan Petrochemicals Limited. And so at that time we had a very, very tough time because we didn't have NDRF and we had to pull in all our resources, fire station resources, not only from Vizag district, but from neighboring districts. That is how we were able to control. Now, a holistic view has to be taken about what kind of disasters can occur. And I'm sure if they do a world study, they will have many such case studies available where disasters have occurred and what kind of
Correct.
precautions and response system should be introduced to deal with situations.
Correct.
So there's much to be learned. I hope
In fact,
the
Mr.
public learns
Sen,
that. Yes?
Yes, in fact, Mr. Sen, let me go back to Mr. Sengar and ask him this question. Mr. Sengar, considering that in Vizag there are so many industries and factories which are located, isn't there a clearer protocol in place? We had the survivor with us just a short while ago who lives right next to the factory, and he says there wasn't even any alarm that went off. Now, how does one deal with this situation? What if the leak had happened earlier in the night and more people would have inhaled it in their sleep, and struggled?
I believe the state government has already formed a 5-member committee, which is going into the causes of this incident, and also 5-member scientific team is reaching shortly, and other aspects, and thereafter they'll be able to pinpoint. And so it is slightly premature to get into the causes of the incident, this one. But as the other panelists, they have been saying, of course, there
No,
is need for
you're
more
right. I don't want to get into the causes. You're right. I
Yes,
just
yes.
want to understand what is the, alarm system, the reaction system to such an incident if it happens, because there are so many factories in and around our cities.
There are SOPs, and as per the standing operating procedures, the companies, they are supposed to display the material not only in the factory, also on the tank which is kept, and if it is in the transit, what is the antidote. So different things they will have to look into, and they have to get in touch with the director of factories, keep informing, and some mock exercises also are supposed to be conducted once in a while. So one will have to get into the details of that. Thereafter, one will be able to exactly pinpoint as to where there was any kind of fault.
Okay, all right. Let me also say good evening to Dr. Gopal Krishna, Environmental Health Researcher and Director for Toxics Watch Alliance, joining us right now. Dr. Krishna, shouldn't there be some kind of a reactionary alarm system to a gas leak that happens in any chemical factory?
Actually, the responses are coming from authorities. They seem to be either saying that such accidents are inevitable, they are bound to happen, or sometimes they pretend to be surprised. under the Rule 13 of the Manufacture, Storage and Import of Hazardous Chemicals since 1989, there is a requirement for preparation of on-site emergency plan by the occupier, and the compliance has to be ensured by the Central Pollution Control Board and the State Pollution Control Board. That there has been no compliance, it is quite evident. And the occupier of the factory, who is the person who is in charge of such substances, is required to prepare an emergency plan. And that plan is required to be prepared prior to the industrial activity commencing. And also it was rightly said that mock drill provision is there, that every 6 months there has to be mock drill. So the compliance with the rules under the Manufacture, Storage and Import of Hazardous Chemicals Rules 1989 has not happened. Secondly, the issue is also that in case of an existing industrial activity, within 6 months of coming into operation of these rules, the on-site emergency plan is required to be prepared. If it has not been prepared, it is the responsibility, it's a dereliction of duty on the part of the Pollution Control Board. In the case of also the concerned authority is supposed to ensure the rehearsal of off-site emergency plan as well. But I think the non-compliance has not happened. Also, the central crisis group, the state crisis group, local crisis group, which was required to be constituted under the chemical emergency preparation and planning rules 1996. It seems that has not been constituted at all, because one has not seen any action from those entities. Actually, the public institutions and the agencies, people who are speaking on their behalf, it is quite alarming that they are saying that such accidents are inevitable. The public institutions are there to ensure that accidents do not happen. Do not provide us the idea that accidents are complied. The public health consequences of it cannot be forgotten. Yeah.
But Dr. Gopal Krishna, even if a factory is shut, considering it's a lockdown time and no work is happening, there are still checks and balances to ensure that no such accident takes place or leak takes place. Where do we seek accountability for that?
No, actually, the accidents do not happen because it is a surprise thing happens. The standard operating procedure, which is laid down in the provisions of the rules, they are there to meet these very agencies, these very exigencies. If there is no on-site emergency plan, these eventualities, these situations have been imagined and provided for in the rules. The dereliction of duty is quite evident. And the State Pollution Control Board, Central Pollution Control Board, the state government concerned, and also central government has a role. They need to set up a committee to find out both cause, effect, and fix accountability for who is to be held accountable. The rules clearly say that the occupier is accountable. The rules clearly say that the Central Pollution Control Board, or where it is provided, the State Pollution Control Board, has to ensure compliance with the on-site emergency plan. That has not happened.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, even as our experts are telling us, there has to be an SOP in place for such emergencies. I mean, you cannot have a situation where people in their sleep start inhaling this gas and then there is nowhere to go and absolutely no alarm system, and accountability has to come in. But let me see if I can go across to Mr. P.V. Ramesh. Mr. P.V. Ramesh, in fact, is an additional principal advisor to the Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister. He is Dr. P.V. Ramesh, an IAS officer and a medical doctor right now advising the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Ramesh, it's a quite scary situation. Styrene gas leak. People are sleeping in the middle of the night. We don't know for how much of that they would have inhaled while they're asleep. Shouldn't there be some kind of a alert system, an alarm system if such a leak happens?
This is one of the most unfortunate and tragic events. It is extremely regretful that this should have happened. particularly at a time when the country and the world is, and particularly Vizag, is battling with COVID. But I mean, this is really something that was never expected. But nevertheless, our response had been extremely swift. I mean, if you see, the event took place around 3:30, and by 4:30, the entire police force, the collector, and the SDRF, NDRF, everybody was on ground evacuating people. By dawn, actually, all the people mostly had been evacuated, moved to the hospitals. Our chief minister had been monitoring the situation right from the morning, and he himself visited the patients, the Vishakhapatnam area. He's announced a liberal ex gratia of 1 crore for those who have lost their lives, and support for all those who are in the hospitals. So a swift action. We've also simultaneously registered a criminal case against those who are responsible for this criminal negligence. The case is being investigated as we speak. The expectation is to bring those who are responsible to book at the earliest that is possible. So, I mean, we really are trying to do everything that is possible to mitigate the situation. We have flown in the chemical from Gujarat to neutralize the toxic effects of this gas in those 3 villages that are affected. The situation is pretty much under control as we speak, but we are very, very
Dr.
concerned.
Ramesh, let me ask you this. For how long does the impact stay on the, in the atmosphere in that area? Just to understand, how long before these people can go back home? It's times of a pandemic. It's not easy to stay out away from your house. Food and shelter and everything is a challenge then. How long before people can be allowed to go back to their homes?
I mean, all those people who are when the measurement was taken, it was 1 to 1.5 particles per micrometer. So, and then we have now got this chemical which neutralizes that. It should be safe in another 24 hours, and this is a very limited leakage of gas, circumscribed to a small location. We should be able to have the people back at their homes at the earliest possible, and that's precisely what we are working on. And the leak was plugged very early in the morning, so there was no further leakages. And this is a gas, as you know, gets diluted into the environment. I'm not a scientist, so obviously I cannot give the scientifically validated position.
All right, but what arrangements are being made by the government now to take care of these 1,500 people? Because each of them may have to be screened for how much gas they have actually inhaled, isn't it?
Yes, all that is being done as we speak. The people are being, all of them are housed. Those who are in the hospital are being well taken care. They're distributed among the different hospitals. The entire cost is being borne by the government. The Honorable CM has already announced an ex gratia to those who have died, unfortunately, and those on ventilators, 25 lakhs, and everyone is being taken care. They're being provided shelter, food. They're being screened both for COVID and also for toxicity. We are confident they would be back at their homes very soon.
Okay, my last question to Mr. Swaranjit Sen before I wrap up this. Mr. Sen, we had a survivor who said there've been gas leaks in the past as well from the same factory, but obviously not to this extent, not to this scale. But does this go on to also reflect that we've not been strict enough in the past to ensure that the guidelines are followed? How is it that again and again, an accident is taking place at the same plant?
Well, I tend to agree with what you say. The only thing is that I was surprised, that the response system is still so bureaucratic. A person is affected, then he goes to the police station. The police station then informs the the district administration, and then the whole thing is worked out. There should be some better response system and not such a restricted bureaucratic system. Now, I'm sure the police station would have felt this kind of irritation when the gas was leaked out. Why did they not suo moto to alert the district administration and really get into it? You know, that is what I would like to say. Perhaps that is one area in which there can be improvement. Now, what else can be done?
All right,
everyone
Yes.
has to be better informed about such
Yes, guys,
situations.
go ahead, finish your point, please.
Yeah, they have to be better informed. And
In fact, the information that we are getting, Mr. Sen, is this, that around 3:25 a.m., a citizen actually called in the emergency number, dial into 100 and informed about the gas leak. This happened around 3:25 a.m. That's when, the control room staff alerted the Gopalapatnam station staff, and at that point, at 3:25, 3:30, the senior inspector there along with 4 PCs then headed towards this area. So it was around 15-20 minutes before the police actually started the evacuation process, and then the city control alerted all the Rakshaks and highway patrolling vehicles. I just want to double check, at what point, Mr. Sengar, was the NDRF alerted about it?
Around 5:30 or so.
So you would ideally want that time to be reduced, isn't it? If the first call went at 3:25 and the NDRF is only told 2 hours later, 2 very valuable hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, had it been in daytime, perhaps the response time would have been much faster. Night time, perhaps the guards were a little lower. Maybe that's why the response was a little delayed. I think that the local police station,
Okay, I am out of time.
They immediately responded. Many times they're not sure as to what exactly has happened, and if there is a need for response from any specialized response force or not. It does take time, especially at that time of the night, to make sense. But as one of the panelists said, that there is definitely a need for improvement as far as our awareness is concerned, and making us better informed is concerned.
Okay, Dr. Ramesh wanted to respond to the point that was raised. I'm completely out of time, but 30 seconds to you, Dr. Ramesh, in case you want to respond to what Mr. Sen was saying.
Very quickly, in every situation, there could be a better response. But in this case, as soon as the call came, this is 100 is a toll-free number, which is the police responded at 3:25. The local police were on the ground immediately. The district administration mobilized all the resources. So by and large, the state administration, because we didn't know what it was completely alert by within the shortest possible time. So and also our government has now constituted a high power committee to get to the bottom of the entire episode. And certainly there is always a scope for improvement.
Okay.
We will improve the systems if they need to be.
Okay. In fact, as per our reporters' inputs, by 4:30 a.m., the CP, Commissioner of Vizag, and DCP Zone 2 were personally present on ground and evacuating people. In fact, the DCP of Zone 2 himself, due to inhalation of the gas, suffered symptoms of poisoning. And there were other police officials who were involved in this. 20 police personnel suffered from mild symptoms as well of gas poisoning. Imagine that. That's how toxic it was, that those who went to rescue people actually also suffered from toxic gas poisoning. Imagine the plight of those who were sleeping and inhaling this for quite a while before somebody alerted them, woke them up and got them. Many fainted on the ground inside their homes while coming out. This was the nightmare that Visakhapatnam woke up to. One will have to look at the fact that even if there was quick response from the local police, why did somebody not call in the NDRF earlier, and the first call only go till by about 5:30 in the morning, 2 hours after an SOS call was made by the civilian. Viewers, it's only if we learn from these lessons and ensure there is accountability and fix the system, will we avoid further such leaks, will we avoid further such accidents, or human-made tragedies to happen, cannot afford to be losing lives, and definitely not in times when already there is a huge pressure and burden on the system. I'm going to thank all of the panelists for joining us right now. Thank you. Welcome back, viewers. We've been focusing and bringing you updates from the city of Mumbai, and we've been repeatedly telling you that there is an issue with the availability of healthcare infrastructure, hospitals, beds and doctors. Let me get you visuals that actually show you just what we've been talking about all this while. These visuals will shock you, viewers, because it's a video that shows just how bad the situation is. In a hospital in the city of Mumbai, COVID patients are having to stay right next to dead bodies. That's the reality right now. In hospitals of one of our biggest cities, the financial hub of our country, and there, with over 10,000 COVID patients, this is the scenario. In Sion hospitals, dead bodies are being kept in a ward meant for patients, wrapped in plastic, kept right there, where people who are alive, hoping to survive this disease and get out of the hospital someday, are also being kept. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine what goes on in the mind of that patient who has to be in that situation, cannot get out, cannot go home, doesn't know when the next round of help is going to come, and is stuck there? This is not the only one. Yesterday I recounted to you 2 instances where people had to wait for hours, run from pillar to post from one hospital to the other to finally get admission at some place for treatment. A similar incident also took place in Cooper Hospital, where a patient was allegedly left unattended and spent the night with 2 corpses, 2 dead bodies right next to him. Now, I am not going to sit here and blame our healthcare workers. They are doing as much as they can, overworked, round the clock, risking their own lives and their health. But what is the government doing? And what is the civic body doing? This so-called richest civic body of our country cannot ensure that 40 days into a lockdown we have better healthcare infrastructure in the city of Mumbai. I don't know, viewers. With the way the cases are rising, what is going to be the situation here? The government and the civic body need to get their act together. Is this really Mumbai's state of preparedness as far as coronavirus is concerned? Let's say good evening to Sanjay Jha, National Spokesperson for the Congress Party, and Shweta Shalini, spokesperson for the BJP. Mr. Jha, is this how we're going to fight coronavirus? Piling up people dead and alive in the same rooms?
Tanvi, I have seen that report and it's extremely disturbing. There is no question of actually trying to even explain or rationalize what appears to be, in my opinion, absolutely repugnant lack of sensitivity to the situation that we have at hand. And one thing is very apparent, and we've seen it across the country, that our public health infrastructure is broken. The system is too fragile to talk about. And the second part that is equally, I would say, a matter of great concern to me is that I think to a great extent our medical workers, many of them are doing an outstanding job, but it's a reality that even countries like the US and Europe are battling with, is to try and actually tell even the medical staff at different levels that you have to be extremely sensitive because people are at this moment of time going through a hellish experience. And, for example, it may be a job for some of the people who are handling, the deceased or those who have lost their lives. But end of day, it is somebody who's a father or a mother or a brother or a sister. And we have to recognize that families are going through a nightmarish experience at the moment. So I think we have to be extremely sensitive. And I think it's a failure of not just...
sensitivity will not cut it, Mr. Jha. Sensitivity is not going to really make it. We need to do more than that, we need action. We need to figure out a solution. Shweta Shalini, it's not about villainizing the healthcare workers. They are doing as much as they can, but what are we doing as a system to help them support here when case after case is coming out about how badly overburdened our healthcare system is?
We are doing nothing. We are doing speeches. And that's what Sanjay ji just did. He gave a very nice, flowery speech. Now tell me, this video came up to 1 day ago. What has been done to the Sion hospitals? People have been complaining that there are no beds. People have, patients have been made to wait 20 hours for a bed. And this is what they are doing with the bed. They are using it for dead bodies. They are also treating COVID patients as dead bodies. And that is the reason why mortality rate of Maharashtra and Mumbai is the highest. It's extremely unfortunate. I think the state lacks complete leadership. There is absolutely no decision making. Since the time this video has come out, we don't need sympathy, we need action. What exactly is happening on this? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The chief minister does not come out of his house. There is absolutely no control. IAS officers change one circular after the other. Every bloody person does not know. Nobody knows. The state is under utter confusion. Is this what we deserve? First, we didn't deserve this government.
Respond to that, Mr. Sanjay Jha.
And now,
I'll do that.
what we get is
Honestly,
this
Mr. Sanjay Jha, this is not about politics, but I think almost everybody can agree but that this government is moving in different directions and one part can't agree with the other. We don't know what's happening effectively on ground because of that.
Tanvi, I understand, that passion's running high, but I don't want to get into a political stab. I don't think this is the right environment for us to send a very disturbing message to the viewers that, there is a political war on. This is a failure. I agree that this is a failure of public administration. I don't think this is peculiar to Maharashtra. I have been reading a lot of these sporadic reports in the Mumbai Mirror, which is part of your group. And, I'm equally concerned. And just because Congress is part of the doesn't mean I'm going to defend something which is absolutely indefensible. What is wrong is wrong. And there cannot be any apathy or, this kind of a conduct shown to anybody. It doesn't matter who the person is. But I do feel that, this is a great wake-up call, I think, for the country as a whole, that, we have neglected health for so long that when we are faced with a pandemic of such epic proportions, we are really, coming across woefully short. But I can tell you that the government has already conducted an inquiry. It will do everything possible. I'm promising you this. And at the end of the day, the learning is that we should not allow to happen to anybody else again in any hospital, public or private, in Mumbai, Maharashtra, and hopefully the rest of the country. So the important part is that we act quickly. We resolve to ensure that these difficulties are not faced by anybody. What you showed on your channel is, I think, very, very sad and shameful. And I personally will apologize on behalf of the government.
But I will tell you something, Mr. Jha, that the authorities, the BMC and even the government and the health minister said the same thing, are not even accepting this. They are in denial. The reason that's been given to us is that sometimes relatives don't come to claim the dead bodies. Can that really be a reason for us to say that, okay, they were put in the same room? The government and the BMC, its civic body, have to first admit that there is something going wrong for them to fix it.
Yeah. To anybody who's making statements that are callous and insensitive, all I'm going to tell them is that if you were there and you were actually sleeping next to some unfortunate deceased, how would you feel? And I think if we all just kind of do that little empathy practice, we'll get to know what the seriousness or the gravity of the situation is. So Tanvi, I'm not going to try and defend this at all. It's wrong. As a citizen of the city, as somebody who has a responsible role, I'm appalled that this has happened. And an apology is also not enough, but at least it will have to be the beginning point. But I can also tell you that the government is sensitive. The government will take appropriate steps to ensure that such horrific, I would say, episodes never happen again.
Okay, I'm completely out of time, but Shweta Shalini and Sanjay Jha, thank you for joining us. I'm just going to say this again. It's not about us being sensitive. It's not about, us showing some amount of empathy to what's happening and acknowledging what's happening. We need action on ground, and the Maharashtra government and the Mumbai civic body really need to up their game if that's what they understand. They need to get their acts together. They need to wake up right now. The early days are gone. We bought ourselves time via a lockdown, a full implemented lockdown for 6 weeks, when we should have worked on this scenario. Now we are hearing the government say, oh, if we need more beds, we are going to ask railways. If we need more beds, we are going to ask the defense hospitals. If we need more beds and staff, we are going to get the private doctors to come and work for us. This plan should have been made 3 weeks ago, if not earlier. This plan is not to be made now. If we had done this 3 weeks earlier, hundreds of people wouldn't have gone through the horrors, the horrifying stories that are emerging from the hospitals in Mumbai. Everybody has heard them or read them in the newspapers. I have counted at least 5 of them to you viewers. While we handle these cases and learn from our experiences and implement policies, we have to understand the plight of every single patient and family member and what they are going through on ground. Otherwise, we will never be able to put in a proper policy. Thank you for joining us on this conversation.